Welcome back to The Cabin Podcast. I'm Andrea Belke.
And I'm Megan Christian.
The Cabin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the WCA Group Health Trust. And I don't know if you can hear, I feel like I'm a little sick. Do I sound a little raspy?
You're a little stuffy, but you know, it's been a week for everyone in the cabin today.
Yeah.
I think we're okay. We do have a really exciting guest today. We have Christopher Johnson of the Passion Podcast. Welcome in.
Thank you for having me. I'm here. I made it.
We made it.
Yeah. So to set this up, so Chris, and you go by Chris or Christopher, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So Chris lives in Eau Claire. We've been trying to have him on The Cabin, and he has his own podcast as well. He travels all around the state to record his podcast interviews. And he was supposed to come in last week. The day of, he's driving, and you got like something happened to your car.
Yeah. So I was driving. All of a sudden, I heard a crunch right after like leaving the quick trip. And I get out of my car and my front tires are in different directions. So I called up Andrea and was like, I'm not going to be there either on time or not at all. If I'm going to be there, it's going to be way late because I have to get my car towed. I don't even know. So yeah, that was no good. I got it fixed a quick $1,300 later and my car works now.
Okay.
And I made it.
Well, because you were driving from Eau Claire. How far of a drive is that?
Man, 2.5, 3 hours, I think, to Madison. To Milwaukee is closer to 4.
Yeah.
My geography was like way off on where I thought Eau Claire was.
Megan, I don't know if you should admit that.
No, I think I have to admit it though, because this is a learning experience. I thought it was way up north.
I think you guys are sleeping on my side of the state so hard. I'm so sick of everybody forgetting about Eau Claire as if it's like Andrea was telling me this off mic earlier. She was talking about like what cities are the best ones. Everyone's going to say that Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay. And I'm like, why is everyone going to say those are the best cities? Because you don't come to my side of the state. We're not all going to say those
Actually,
cities.
I wanted to bring this up. So you think that Eau Claire is the best city then?
It was ranked the best city over and over again in a lot of different publications, yes.
So what's your argument for it?
I could talk for so long about it.
Well, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, for one, the crime rates are really low. For two, we have the largest sculpture tour in the country, not just in the state. We have a ton of murals. Like, we're a big art city. We're a big music city, partially thanks to Justin Vernon, but in general, like, our school is very focused. UWC is like a music school. So we've always had a huge music scene there. We're on the confluence of two rivers. We have 57 miles of bike path that just like go throughout our city. Tons of great food options. The cost of living is really low. The average household income, I think, is like 60-some thousand, and you can like get by. I think I looked
afford to live there.
Yeah, I looked up some things. I think the average rent is $825.
Dang, maybe I need to move to Eau Claire.
Wow. I mean, look, Chris is coming in hot.
I was going to say he's locked and loaded with the facts, which I appreciate, because some people, they're like, well, we have this and then there's this, but that's about it.
No, he's been stewing. I feel it. He saw the clip where we were talking about the best cities and Eau Claire wasn't in it. And so he's coming in hot.
Yeah,
I do think that area of the
out.
state is slept on.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, we're so far removed. Honestly, though, growing up, like Minneapolis was the closer city to me because that's only like 90 miles away. So I only came to Milwaukee maybe once, or same thing with Madison, maybe a couple of times for school trips growing up. I never ventured this far. So I didn't even spend much time out here. I always like went to Minneapolis.
So do you have hot takes on Milwaukee and Madison then, since you grew up near Minneapolis? How is it compared to another big city?
In comparison to Minneapolis, Minneapolis feels safer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest about that. Minneapolis feels a little artsier, but I just haven't spent that much time. Honestly, since coming to Milwaukee a lot, I know we're in Madison right now, but I've been coming to Milwaukee all the time for interviews, and it has a lot more than I thought that it had.
I feel like in Milwaukee, I get everything I would need in terms of food, in terms of art, in terms of some recreation and outdoor. I mean, for me, it's like, it's great because I'm close to my family. So that's a major factor.
My argument for Milwaukee is the music scene. I think it's great. There's always so many shows. I wish more big artists came here. They're starting to, but sometimes still got to go to Chicago for that.
Yeah, but I mean, you have Summerfest.
Yeah.
I mean, you have
the world's largest music festival.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee, I love Milwaukee.
We have a lot of music festivals in Eau Claire too, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
we
what?
have Country Jam, which is one of the bigger country ones in the country. We have Country Fest, which just changed its name to Hoofbeat. But we have that one. Hoofbeat.
Hoofbeat?
Oh, yeah, that's the argument. Is it Hoof
or
or
hoof?
hoof?
I think it's supposed to be hoof, but I'm maybe wrong.
I think it's
Same way with roof and roof, right? We all say roof, but it's definitely roof.
I think it's like when, well, they're kind of flip flop because when you're saying like hooves, it's like hooves, but
no, it's hooves.
What?
Yeah.
I
See,
want to
this
know
is
if that's
the
a
argument.
Midwest thing now. But anyway, so
Maybe.
yeah, we have that one. We have Blue Ox Music Festival,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
a big bluegrass one. We did Reverb for a couple of years. That was like kind of an emo festival. There's now Summer Jam, which is like a bunch of throwback artists from like 70s and 80s and stuff that come through. We had Eau Claire's Fest a couple of times. I don't know if that's going to come back or not. That's been a few years off, but we do a lot of like music stuff. Outside of that, now we have a bunch of new venues. The Sonic Tank Center is a new building that they just had. Who do they have? Who's that big comedian? Jeff Foxworthy. He just came through for that, and then we just had Vanilla Ice there like a couple years ago. Yeah, we have the Pablo Center, which was built right before the pandemic, and we have a ton of shows there. And not just like music shows. Like Charlie Barron sold out that place 4 times in a row. Like I think he did 4 shows over one weekend at the Pablo Center. And there's 2 theaters in there that of different sizes. And there's more than that. We have a huge comedy scene. Like we have big comedians constantly come to the Plus, which is this like tiny little venue that Cullen Ryan, shout out Cullen, he rules. He's a booker for a lot of events, but he's just like the biggest fan of stand-up comedy ever. And so he started this thing called Clearwater Comedy, which was just like this open mic for comedians 10 years ago. And slowly he kept like bugging comedians when they were coming through the Midwest. And he's like, hey, I noticed you have a day off between Minneapolis and Chicago. What would it take to get you to come to Eau Claire? And so we have all these big comedians who have like Netflix specials performing for like 50 people in Eau Claire for $20.
Dang.
Wow. So do you think Eau Claire is better than Milwaukee?
It depends on what you're looking for. Like I can afford a house from a podcast income with half an acre of land, you know what I mean? And I have a 3-season porch with a hot tub, and I don't have to worry about like waking up and seeing a college kid sitting in my hot tub. It's just like a safer, quieter space. So it depends on what kind of living, you're looking for. Obviously, job opportunity wise is drastically different, but I kind of like doing my own thing. So it's perfect for me.
Yeah. You did mention Charlie Barron's, who you're having on your podcast.
Finally.
Literally right after this. But
Yeah.
before we hop into all that, how did Passion Pod start?
Man, without going into like a long story, I was the guest on a Minneapolis skateboarding podcast a long time ago because I owned a skateboard shop for 10 years, which is kind of how everything, I guess, started. And I remember driving home from that podcast thinking like, I would be good at that. And this was really fun. And I'm a very business-minded person. So with them, we were just like drinking beer and hanging out. And I'm like, but if I did this series, this could be cool. And so it was kind of in the back of my mind for a while. 2-ish years later, I would always run into the same issue of passion was like my brand of clothing. And friends of mine would say, well, I can't buy it because I don't skate. When I'm a skateboarder, but as we get older, less of them skated. They're like, well, I'd be a poser. And I was saying that's really dumb because, you would wear basketball shoes and not be a basketball player.
Right.
But whatever. So I was thinking about how can I get people to realize you don't have to skate to like shop at my store. And so this rapper came into my store, Miles Boulevard, just like a local dude who crushes. And I was like, what do you think about wearing passion branded stuff at shows and being like a brand ambassador? Because there's a lot of brands that do that, like Oakley and stuff that sponsor people across a bunch of different things. And he was like, absolutely. I said, cool. I don't actually know you though. So we should hang out. So he came over to my house and we hung out for like 2 hours and I basically interviewed him, not intentionally. And I said, I've been thinking about doing a podcast. What do you think about coming over in a week and recording basically this conversation? I don't know if I'll use it or not. And so I have a picture hanging up in my house of me and him sitting in these wingback chairs in front of my fireplace with my laptop with just like Audacity, the built-in microphones with the laptop recording it. It was way better than I thought. So then I asked a different friend who had a pet care company if she would do it. Same thing, except this time I had questions prepared. Turned out way better than I thought. And then coincidentally, I was throwing this big fundraiser and the skateboarders who I was on their show years prior weren't doing the podcast anymore, but they came through for my fundraiser and just gifted me their recording equipment.
Wow.
Because they were like, you could use this more than we could.
Right.
So then I recorded 8 more episodes with each person being from a different industry, edited all of that, went back and re-recorded the first 2, had a 10-episode season. So I thought of it kind of like an album. And I was like, I'll give myself a month to market and promote this. And during that time frame, I got connected to Converge Radio, which is like our local independent station. And so from the beginning, the first episode ever premiered on the radio. It's always been on the radio. 6 years later, I'm still on the radio.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's incredible to start something from the ground up. It was your idea. You interview people about their passions. I like that like through line there. Speaking of the radio, you were actually voted. I want to make sure I get this right. You won an award for most luscious radio voice.
3 years in a row. Yeah.
Dang. Can you give us like a hello and welcome to the Cabin podcast?
Oh, man. Now I'm put on the spot.
Or not. You don't have to. But I feel like we got to hear
and welcome to the Cabin podcast.
Okay.
Pretty luscious.
Do you think, Josie, do you feel like it's pretty luscious?
I'd say pretty luscious.
We can put some smooth music.
I don't know if there's that much competition for the award. And like you can also just like text friends and be like, it'd be really cool if you voted for this. But I've had people. So this happened to me a couple years back, but this was so funny. I was in a pawn shop because I used to sell jewelry many, many years ago. So I like
just all these random jobs coming through.
You're
I know. This was before I opened my
everything.
skateboard shop. So I like to go treasure hunting. So I'll go to pawn shops and like look at stuff because I know what things should cost or whatever. So I was in this pawn shop and a dude came up behind me and he was like, I'm not trying to be weird, but are you on the radio? And I was like, yes, I am. And he goes, you're that Passion Pod guy. I recognize your voice. I was like, whoa.
That's fun.
Like you see people would recognize you from your face, but that was the first time I was recognized by my voice.
Wow.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so you basically built this podcast from the ground up. What has been like your favorite interview so far? Do you have, or even if you can narrow it down to 3 that really stick in your mind?
Well, I mean, of course, ones that I was like a fan of the person, right? Like I've interviewed some really famous people and stuff, but if I wasn't a fan of them offhand, it doesn't mean as much.
Right.
So the biggest one would be Sun Reel's like my favorite music artist ever. He's this rapper, singer-songwriter from Vancouver. And he was the first person that I saw him post. He was going on his first tour in like 3 years after the pandemic because he had kids and whatever. And I thought like, maybe the show's big enough. I'll just shoot my shot. And so I DM'd him like, hey, I own a skateboard shop. I know you grew up skateboarding. It would mean a lot to me. And then, yeah, he messaged me back. He's like, yeah, I could totally do that. Like, just link up with my tour manager and we'll make it happen. And so I remember for that one, like I showed up at the venue, walked in at the same time. And that was the first time I was like starstruck. And I was like, oh my God, Aaron, you're so cool. And so I interviewed him in the green room. And afterwards, he's like, oh, what are you doing with the rest of the night? And I was like, could be hanging out with you. I don't know.
Like, if I get an invite, maybe.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, you should stay for the rest of the show. And so I just like hung out with him. I ended up interviewing his opener, this rapper Soul from Seattle, out in their tour van. And just like hung out with them the whole rest of the night. Right as he came off stage, he's like shirtless and sweating. I gave him my phone to like give a shout out to my kids because I do that pretty often because that's how I'm a cool dad for 30 minutes. And so I have a video of him like holding my phone. He's like, yo, Lily, yo, Luna, hanging out with your dad right now. If you ever want to come to a show, I got you for free tickets.
Nice.
And so then I listened to, I'll show my kids, those songs from him, and then they get super stoked on it to go tell their, kids at school or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that one was meaningful to me just because like I'm a big fan. And then a year later, he came through on tour again, and I was like, what do you think about doing another interview? He's like, duh. And so he had the next day off, and he's like, let's record it the next day. So then we ended up staying up after the show, like drinking together at the bar. And the next morning we recorded his interview hungover, where I was sitting on one bed, he was sitting on the other one in his hotel room. Yeah.
That's kind of iconic.
Yeah. So that was, because how long have you had a podcast?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, especially in podcast world, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming now you don't get as starstruck with people.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Like I haven't freaked out about anybody in a long time.
Yeah.
But
Megan, do you get starstruck?
Not really. I feel like I get nervous beforehand or like excited. Like when we had Gilbert Brown on, I was like, oh my God, I'm a huge backer
the
fan.
grave digger.
Yeah. I mean, that was only like our third
Yeah, that was like our
podcast.
third episode. And like, or with like Peter, because I watched The Bachelorette. But like, once you're having a conversation with someone, you realize they're just a normal person. So I don't know. I feel like it just kind of goes away once I see them and I shake their hand, give them a hug. Hey,
I just get nervous about the equipment. Because you guys are lucky that, well, not lucky, you guys have worked very hard, but you have a whole team of people. So somebody is watching your cameras, making sure everything's recording.
Right.
Versus me, I'm like, record.
Pray.
God, I hope that stays in focus. I hope there's no issues. And I haven't had any like real big issues in quite a while, but I am going to throw it in Charlie's face that he interviewed you and didn't hit record on his microphone.
Oh,
So-
yeah. So when I did, to give some context, when I did Charlie Barron's or his podcast, Cripes Cast, we did a whole sit-down interview, and halfway through, he was like, wait, I got to check on the equipment, and it wasn't recording. So we had to redo it. And redoing a whole podcast when you just had like a really earnest conversation is just not
You should just be like, shoot, I think I forgot to press record. Pranked.
Well, it's just like, that's a reminder of like, not to like throw Charlie under the bus, but like literally everybody makes mistakes all the time. But when you're doing it on your own, like you don't notice any of that stuff. Like you just hit record and pray.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about you is you are Wisconsin born, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were born in Eau Claire area?
I was born in Wausau. My parents moved to Eau Claire in 1992 when I was 2 and bought the house that I still live in because I bought it from them. I didn't like stay there forever. But
you are, you love Wisconsin, but you aren't our typical Wisconsin guest.
I don't wear flannels and eat cheese from my pockets.
Yeah. But what would you say is the most Wisconsin thing about you?
Oh, man. I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that I have an accent at all, but apparently I do have a Midwest accent to a certain degree. Not like, some of the people that you interview. Man, I think the biggest thing is I've spent a lot of time traveling around to like New York and LA interviewing people. And the way that we look at life is different. Like here, we're not so competitive about like, I need to be able to achieve the highest level of success ever. Mm-hmm. Not that everyone's complacent, but I think our goals are different here. And for me, it's like, I want to have a home that I can afford and I can, be in a place where I can afford to give my kids the things that they need and like be able to go do stuff with them. But I don't have to be like the best at anything, really. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the biggest difference with people who live in Wisconsin versus some of those other places. Like people who go to New York, not to like totally talk a bunch of crap about them because I know you lived out there, but you could probably relate to this. People move out there with like a mission, and they're there to like accomplish this thing. And if they can't do it in however many years, then they failed. And here, I don't think like the pace is quite like that. So
yeah, I can't relate to the New York thing, but I do feel like there's not as much pressure in the Midwest because you're surrounded normally by family. If you're in New York or LA, you typically have moved away from family, or you're living in New York and your family's in LA. You're living in LA, your family's in New York. Yeah. Vice versa. So you're not surrounded by that constant support. Whereas like here, I can drive 10 minutes down the road to my mom's if I'm having a bad day, Stuff like
It's easier to have a balance for sure.
Yeah, and your friends don't have to have anything to do with your career either.
Right.
I feel like in bigger cities, people are like constantly networking. Yep. My best friend doesn't use social media and works at the DMV. And my other best friend is a janitor.
I love it.
So like it doesn't, and I feel like that's how it is with people in the Midwest. There's just like a lot more laid back, a lot more genuine. At least that's how it feels to me.
Yeah. So you said your argument for Eau Claire is the best city is the food there.
It's one of many things.
So our audience loves food stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So if you could pick some of the best places in Eau Claire to grab a bite to eat, where would you go?
Oh man, it depends on how much you want to spend.
Maybe like in each range.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what this one's place. What's that Disney movie that took place in Colombia? What's it called?
Oh gosh.
Where they all have the magic powers.
Oh, is it Encanto?
Yes. There's a new Mexican place called Encanto. That's the name of the restaurant. And that's like the best Mexican food I've ever had, which is crazy to think in Eau Claire. That's like where I've had the best Mexican food. But that place is really, really good.
What do you get there?
It's called their like Encanto special meal. It's like, what is it? I think it's not chimichangas. I can't remember, but they're like shrimp. Something with shrimp in them, and they're really, really, really good. So
I'm a sucker
I would
for
definitely check out that place. A place that gets probably too much love, but it's worth it. Is the Oxbow in Lakely. It's a hotel / restaurant that has like a cocktail bar, but it's all like farm to table food.
I love farm to table.
It's different, like stuff on the menu, so I couldn't tell you what to get, but everything there is really, really good. Then there's this dive bar that like I don't personally hang out at. It's called the Wigwam. It's been around forever, but I think their burgers are like really, really good and super underrated.
Okay.
Have you ever stayed in a wigwam? Do you know what a wigwam is?
No.
No.
I've stayed in one of those
Well, it's like a Native
dome
American
things.
Yeah,
home?
but they have like wigwam places in Wisconsin, like yurts.
Oh.
Type
Yeah, the
things,
like
and you can
dome
stay
kind
in
of
them.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed in one of those.
Are they
For
cool?
my girlfriend, for my birthday, she like got us one for the night.
Yeah,
it was
you
super
can
cool.
stay like on the beach. They have them in places or in the woods. They're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm big into camping too, so that's my other favorite thing.
Yeah. Okay, so what about, I hear all the time from
Yes.
friend of the pod, Josh. Ray's hot beef.
Whatever. I don't know.
Oh,
I think that's the
shoot.
most overrated thing.
I think Josh would lose his mind if he heard that.
It's just so Eau Claire has two downtowns, is what we all call it, right?
Okay.
Because it's on either side of the river. So Water Street is like all bars and like bar food, and it's all college housing over there because that's where the university is.
Yeah.
And then Barstow is the other side of the river where all the like, I don't want to say young professionals, but not college people
Yeah.
hang out. Ray's is on the end of Water Street where everyone has been like drinking way too much and gets to the end of Water Street and then gets food. And so it tastes way better because you've been drinking way too much.
Got it.
So
Josh
that's my
says
hot
it's
take.
the world's best hot beef sandwich.
I don't know.
We
whatever.
might have to, at the end, we might have to call in Josh for this like
No.
ultimate Ray's debate.
No kidding.
Yeah. I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
That's not something that I would like push people to go do necessarily when you come to Eau Claire. But the sculpture tour is really cool. That is like something we've invested a lot of money into. And the sculptures aren't all like, little, like they're huge. There's like a big Viking ship one, and there's this huge dragon that's 10 feet tall, and there's
Wow.
120 of them, and they're rotating. Like there's different
Whoa.
ones all the time. That's super unique to Eau Claire. And most of them are either in various parts downtown or on the bike path. So you can just like ride a regular bicycle or get an e-bike or whatever, but you can just like go to each of them and you can vote on them and stuff. There's maps that they have at the like little Visit Eau Claire spot inside of the Pablo Center. So you know where to go see them all. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, if you had to say, and you can include the sculpture tour, but someone wants to go to Eau Claire, what's the perfect day in Eau Claire?
Man, I mean, there's a lot to be done. If it's warm enough, other big thing in Eau Claire is floating the river. So everybody goes in where the confluence is downtown and then floats down, and it doesn't take super long, maybe like an hour. But if it's warm enough, definitely do that. I would definitely spend time on the bike path. One thing that's special about us is a lot of the bike path is very separate from the road with a lot of trees and stuff. So you feel like you're not necessarily in the city. So I would explore that. This is another thing I feel like people somehow don't know about. But we built a boardwalk that goes on Half Moon Lake that goes like out over the water and everything, kind of like tucked back, and people don't really know where it is, which is weird because I'm the vice chair of the Parks and Waterways Commission. So we were like talking about it for quite a while, but I would definitely go spend time doing that. There's a little ice cream place that's down there called Roadside. So, and their portion sizes are way too big. I don't get why people are like, try our world famous size small. That's huge, because it's then just too big. But yeah, I would get ice cream and you can walk from there straight to the boardwalk. So I would spend time doing that. And then I would check and see if there's any shows, because down on Barstow, like I said, there's a lot of things. The Plus has comedy shows, and they're just like an all ages venue. So they have a lot of different stuff going on all the time there. There's, the Mousetrap is a little dive bar that's popular that has shows all the time. The Pablo Center, if they have an event, that's pretty cool. They also have like art displays all the time. Like my girlfriend has a piece that's in their next like art show that's coming up. So you can always just go and see the exhibits. That's really cool. And then there's a place called Social Reboot, or Reboot Social, I think it's called, that they have a bunch of like old arcade games from the 70s and stuff. So upstairs there's food and there's like board games and stuff, and they have mini bowling and like that type of thing. And then downstairs, the games are all cheap. That's the other big thing. Not like Dave and Buster's or whatever.
Right.
Where you get 3 tokens for $1, or even better deal if you like get more. And each game is just 1 token. So for $10, like you could play for a long time. And they have, I don't even know how many machines, 50 probably.
Yeah. So for the sculpture tour, are they all local artists then?
No, I mean, some of them are.
Okay.
And we have this one artist, Steve Bateman, and he makes art. Well, he makes art from a lot of things, but mostly from like garbage and found things.
Oh.
So we have one of like our iconic things is the garbage swan, which is at Banbury Place. So Banbury Place was the old Uniroyal tire factory, which employed a lot of Eau Claire. So my parents bought my house in '92 because that's when the factory closed. And so all of a sudden housing was cheap because everyone needed a job, so they were leaving.
Right.
Anyways, he collected garbage out of the Mississippi River. I think that's where he got it, and built this huge statue of a swan out of the garbage. And it's like sitting there at this, old industrial building that's right on the river. Super cool. He made a big bumblebee one that's probably, 5 feet tall, 6 feet wide or something.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a local artist that contributes, but they come in from all over
Everywhere.
the place. Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
Cool.
yeah, the sculpture tour sounds really amazing. I've been in Eau Claire a few times. I filmed an episode there too, and it is really beautiful and super artsy. I'm a huge coffee fanatic. Is there a favorite coffee, pastry, breakfast spot?
I mean, the popular one is at the Lismore. ECDC is
Yep.
that's the one that everyone goes to because they have like a little bakery attached to it. But there's the Goat that's on Water Street. That is a pretty popular spot people go to. I'm not gonna say I'm a huge coffee snob.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of drink 2 pots of coffee while I'm editing all day long,
Yeah.
so I can't really afford to do it. But yeah, I would do that. I mean, that's another the other one that everyone goes to is Racy's. That's the one that I would go to.
Oh,
So Racy's is
yeah.
right on the river. It's by the university. They have a pet turtle they've had there for like ever. I forget his name, but he's so cool. But we did art shows there. So we did these like skateboard art shows that I helped host, where we just I collected people's old broken skateboards and then people picked them up from my shop, painted them, and then we had the art display there. And so they still do a lot of like local art shows and featured artists and stuff there. There's a restaurant attached called the Nucleus, which is like a pretty popular spot too.
Yeah.
What do they have?
The thing that everyone gets there is their stuffed French toast with like Nutella and strawberries and stuff. That's like the go-to, but
I'm hungry
That
now.
sounds
yeah,
very
it is.
yummy.
It is really good. I mean, when you say like Eau Claire is a food city, it's not going to be like next to New York City or something like that.
Right.
But for Wisconsin, I think there's a lot of good food.
The Cabin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Counties Association, and this week we are featuring Sauk County. Sauk County is a county we cover a lot on The Cabin and Discover Wisconsin because there is so much to do. It's a mix of small town charm, art, and outdoor adventure. You have the crown jewel, Devil's Lake State Park, with over 9,200 acres, incredible bluffs, and the 360-acre lake. It's a hiker's, climbers, and photographer's dream. While you're there, don't miss Balanced Rock and the Devil's Doorway formations. You also have Mirror Lake State Park, Lake Redstone, Natural Bridge State Park, which is home to Wisconsin's largest natural arch, over 25 feet wide and 15 feet tall, the Great Sauk State Trail, and Lower Wisconsin Riverway. Safe to say there's no shortage of fun for outdoor enthusiasts. Then you have Baraboo with its deep circus roots and the Circus World Museum. The Al Ringling Theater is there as well. Spring Green is a total gem in Sauk County. You can go there and see Frank Lloyd Wright's Taliesin. Also check out House on the Rock, created by Alex Jordan. Megan and I love House on the Rock. It is a trip. The list goes on in Sauk County. For more, go to wicounties.org.
The Cabin is also brought to you by the WCA Group Health Trust. Serving local governments and school districts, the WCA Group Health Trust partners closely with members to fulfill their employee health benefit obligations in a fiscally responsible manner. Learn more at wcaght.org.
Well, this kind of leads me to, you spent a lot of time growing up in northern Wisconsin because you went out to a cabin right near Cable.
Yeah, my parents bought a cabin when I was like 10, and my mom
Yeah.
was a school teacher. So every summer we lived up at the lake, which was Atkins Lake. It's kind of by Lake Namakogon, if anyone knows that.
Mhm.
Also, I want to set the record straight because people pronounce this all the time wrong. You know how to pronounce the Nicolet National Forest, the like first part of it?
Schwamigan.
Yes. Okay. Every time I listen to other people's shows, it blows my mind how many Wisconsinites call it Chequamegon. Like Corey Kaiser from Wisconsin Clothing Company,
Who has
mutual
been on the
friend.
pod, who we love.
Mutual friend. Corey, you're awesome. And I'm like, you've crushed it so hard even since I interviewed you. He's amazing. He pronounced it Chequamegon. And I was like,
So I think this is what happens. I went to do an episode there and I didn't know how to say it. So I looked it up on YouTube and everyone said Chequamegon. So then that's how I thought. I looked at many different videos until we had someone from
Ashland County on.
Then she set us straight.
Yes.
So now it's Schwamigan.
yes,
Yes.
Schwamigan. So our cabin is on Atkins Lake, which is in between Grandview, Cable, and Ashland. So when we did our laundry during the summer, we would drive into Ashland. Like when we
Mhm.
would get groceries, we would drive into Ashland. But
Yeah.
it's up in that area.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
since it's the fall, I'm kind of curious for all of us. Do you have any hidden gems in northern Wisconsin?
Oh my God. So for one, everyone knows about Bayfield and Apostle Islands and stuff.
I
and
am
Big Bay
Bayfield's
National Park.
biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went camping I took my kids camping up at Big Bay National Park, which is on Apostle Island, and it was
Mhm.
beautiful. But there is a trail, and I didn't know this until like a couple years ago because I would hike it all the time. It's right next to my cabin, but it's 1,200 miles. It goes from the East Coast all the way into like Nebraska or something. I think it's called the North Country Trail. I could be wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So right near my cabin is a little entrance to it. There's this old Swedish settlement that's like back in there if you hike a little bit. And again, this is a 1,200-mile trail, so you just have to look where to go on.
Mhm.
But there's a beautiful overlook. And there's just this tiny little gravel parking lot that only like 4 or 5 cars can even park at. And it's a 3/4 mile hike up to this overlook. And like the photos we have from when I was a kid during the fall colors, it's like the most beautiful place in the world. I've actually gone, and this seems kind of crazy, but it's so safe up there. I have gone with my dog at 2 a.m. to go stargazing and hiked like in the middle of the night to go up and just lay on top of those rocks because there's no light pollution or anything. That's the spot. So if you can find it, if you just like look up Swedish settlement, North Country Trail, I'm sure you'd be able to find the section I'm talking about. But there's an overlook there that's just like perfect. But there's a lot of other places too, like Copper Falls is really nice.
Yep.
There's a lot of places
been to Copper
on
Falls. Yeah, what is
yeah.
Copper Falls about?
Well, I mean, it's a state park. I think it's a state park.
Mellon,
and so
right?
there's like really nice hiking and stuff around it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the falls are like crazy,
I
but-
think when you're in Wisconsin, you have to kind of lower your expectations for waterfalls. We
Right.
do have
Yeah.
some nice ones. We've talked about them a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think as long as you go in knowing it's not going to be this crazy thing, but it is like cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, and I know this isn't up north, but if people haven't gone to Willow River State Park, that's in Hudson. It's like right before you would go over to the border of Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's really gorgeous too. And like you can climb underneath the waterfall. It's like, it's not tall, it's like wide. And so you
Okay.
can like climb back in and be behind the waterfall,
Oh,
which is
that's
really cool. And they have like a bunch of camping there, but the primitive camping has bathrooms, no showers, but it has like flushable toilets and everything. But the sites are like actually pretty separate from each other.
That's
So
nice.
that place would be another place I would go to. But I would say the best places, in my opinion, and one of the best parts about Wisconsin is the fact that most places aren't very explored.
Yeah.
Right. So like I went to Minocqua to go see the fall colors recently, and there was just a ton of trails and there was nobody there. And it's
Yeah.
not like you have to go to like if you go to whatever is like the specific place everyone tells you to go to, there's probably going to be other people there.
Mhm.
But if you look like we have over 15,000 lakes in Wisconsin, there's plenty of trails too. So if you just pick any of them, the ones that don't have anybody are usually the best.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
say Minocqua, if you go during peak season, it's going to be so busy. But this time of year, all of the tourists leave, especially that whole area. Like Saint Germain, it's so quiet right now. You don't have to wait in line as long for your supper clubs, your fish fries.
You
So-
love Saint Germain.
Well, I grew up going there because my grandparents live in Saint Germain, but we would always go on Big Saint Germain Lake, Little Saint, all the lakes up there. Fawn Lake is another hidden gem within those lakes. There's just so much fun stuff to do up there no matter the time of year. I think if you're looking for a good fish fry, you can't go wrong with Fibbers or Clearview Supper Club is right next to there. My grandpa loves their food. I've had some experiences, but I'm not into that kind of food. It's like chicken marcellas and stuff like that. I'm not into that. But then you have Blink Bonnie, which I am so sorry that your line was that long from our reel.
We made a reel about supper clubs, and I fear we may have
run them out of food.
because honestly, and maybe they're always that busy.
They can be very busy, but during this time of year, it's not normally that busy.
Well, we had posted a reel about supper clubs, and it did it got like hundreds of thousands of views. And then somebody posted a picture of the line at Blink Bonnie's right after that, and they actually tagged us and said, "I think this is Discover Wisconsin's fault."
Oh,
yeah.
So if anyone wants to advertise and Discover Wisconsin, that's the way to go.
Yeah, yes.
We'll be seeing it.
Sorry, Blink Bonnie, but that's a great place to go.
If you go up north, Lake Namakagon, I don't know if you're familiar with that. So that's kind of up there by Cable. And there's like 5 lakes that all connect. Garden Lake's the biggest one, but the collection of them, because they're all connected, is called Lake Namakagon. And there's a bunch of different resorts and stuff that the restaurants are all great. There's a place called Garmisch that's really, really good. And they have like a stone patio that like overlooks the lake. And a lot of these ones too, like you'll see people take their pontoons or boats and they'll just like drive their boat from like across the lake to the different ones to get drinks and bloodies and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
There's another little place called the Loon Saloon that we used to go to. I worked there when I was like 14 for a summer.
Oh my gosh.
They have really good pizza and they have a patio that overlooks the lake. So I would recommend going to that one. Lake Woods, I worked there too when I was a kid during the summer. They have, beautiful restaurant. And then a lot of those places do fireworks over the lake too. Like you can take your boat out and sit in your boat and watch the fireworks during the 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right now you're kind of up north. The colors are going away. But I think before that big, real cold hit, you still could get some nice hiking in, dress warm.
Or if you like snow stuff, I mean, like ice fishing and stuff. And then countries like, cross country skiing is big there, snowshoeing, hiking. If you can put up with the cold, if you hike any up north there's nobody then visiting during those months and you have it completely to yourself. Yeah. And I have hiked that same overlook during the winter and didn't see or hear anyone, and it was super pretty.
These are some great little hidden gems.
I know.
Yeah. I will shout out, I mean, I don't know if it's a hidden gem. We talk about it a lot. So Rhinelander, I was just there filming, and I really, if you want something fun and you're heading up north, do the Hodag tour, see all the Hodags throughout Rhinelander. Tilly's is a great spot for food. I'm obsessed. That's one of my favorite restaurants in Wisconsin, honestly.
And there's so many areas around Rhinelander too that you can pop over to. Eagle River's not far, St. Germain's not far.
And if you just want like an Instagram photo, take a picture with the Hodag. But that's the other thing.
I have one. I actually just did.
Everyone does, because it's the coolest sculpture in Wisconsin. But again, we have 120 in Eau Claire, and so like that's one of the big things. So I've won Best New Mural twice in Eau Claire for murals that I've painted, and I try to paint these like big, colorful characters for you to be able to pose with. That's like kind of intentional. Yeah. So I have like I painted this underpass that's 32 feet tall and 78 feet wide that you can pose with. There's another like 16-foot like red monster who's flexing you could pose with. There's another big bat that's probably a dozen feet wide that you could pose with. We have tons of them. So if you just want to like have an Instagram day and get a bunch of like cool photos.
Do you think, if I ask the question, where's the best town, or like which Wisconsin city is the best murals, are you saying Eau Claire?
I don't know this. I mean, on my side of the state, 100%. I don't know the murals well enough in Milwaukee to say that we beat them or not.
Because Milwaukee does have good murals.
Yeah.
I believe it. But the population is like 10 times the size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Wisconsin mural news. Did you hear about the biggest one?
Yeah, I was just talking to him. We're going to do an interview, the one in Oshkosh.
Yep. So they're making the biggest mural in Wisconsin. It's going to be in Oshkosh. It's 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And it's right on the riverfront. But that should be completed, I think, by the time this interview comes out. It's supposed to be done by end of October.
Dang.
Yeah. That's the only reason he doesn't have time to do an interview with me right now, is because he's painting from sun up to sundown every day.
I'm going to have to shoot up there.
Well, we got to get you out of here because you have to go interview Charlie Behrens.
I know. So excited. Charlie has a podcast called The Cripescast that he started similar time to mine. Charlie obviously is much more successful than I am, but we've interviewed a lot of the same people and we have a lot of mutual friends, including you. So I've been like poking him for a while, sending messages to him, to his team, like it would make sense. We should do this. And then finally my 200th episode was coming up, which now has passed. And I sent him a message saying like, is now the time? And apparently now's the time. So yeah, it's finally going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. My last thing
for you.
You claim that you're not a Wisconsin, super like Wisconsin-y podcast.
Yeah.
But in your TikTok bio, you have #1 podcast in Wisconsin.
Yes. I think it's the best one. Sorry, guys.
What's your argument?
Well,
he's like, well, first of all, I've been going for 6 years.
That's part of it, but I'm also the only full-time traveling podcaster in the state. I'm the only one who packs up my stuff and goes to somebody's garage to interview them in person. You guys are very limited by the fact that people have to come to your studio. As beautiful as this is, it does limit who can even get here.
But did we get you here?
You got me here. You got me here.
All the way from Eau Claire?
Yeah.
You got me
it
here.
is very hard because you want to keep like your brand like recognizable, and I feel like people know us because of our background.
And I'm also just giving you crap. Yeah. Like, I mean, ours probably says like go to Wisconsin podcast. Like,
it definitely does.
I will tell you the brief story about it. So there's the biggest skateboarding podcast in the world. It's called the 9 Club, and I've had some of the same guests as them as well. There's a second podcast called The Bunt, which is not as big, The Bunts podcast in their intro says #1 podcast in Wisconsin. After many years of them like not really combating, but kind of playfully, the 9 Club had the Bunt guys on their show and then confronted them just like this. Right? And I loved, this is when I changed my bio to say that. I loved their answer. They said that to him and he said, well, why wouldn't we call ourselves the best? And he goes, well, you know, numbers, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, ask any NFL player if their team's the best one in the league.
Yeah.
Every single one will say they're the best.
Yeah.
So we're the best. And that attitude was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. Like, I believe it. I think mine's,
And it's not that deep.
No, it's not.
It really isn't.
And what I was going to say is I just love how much we all work together in the podcast and like Wisconsin influencer space too. Just like helping each other out. Like, oh, I'll go on your show. You come on my show. Help you out anytime you need.
I just don't see that there's like really any competition because we're very different shows. Yours is very focused on Wisconsin and like different parts of it. Like here we're talking about Eau Claire and up north and all that type of thing. My show is almost always one-on-one about somebody's life and their career. And it's not really about Wisconsin. So they're very, very different.
You're just located in Wisconsin.
I just live in Wisconsin.
Well, we love it.
Yeah. We appreciate this was super fun. It went really fast. Tell us how people can follow you and find you on social media.
If you just look up Passion Pod anywhere, on Instagram is the one. If you want to send a message, I would see it there for sure. Passion Pod Official, I think, is a TikTok. YouTube's just Passion Pod. YouTube's a space that I've like put most of the energy into over the last few years. You can also listen on Converge Radio 101.9 FM Sundays and Wednesdays at 7.
To hear that luscious radio voice.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I would say just hit me up on the socials. There's a website too, you know, that has merchandise and stuff, but just find me on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chris, for coming on. Like I said, this conversation went way too fast.
I can come back.
Part 2.
I've been driving down here for interviews all the time, so I'll be around.
There we go. Well, hey, you got Charlie Barron's next, so we got to get you out of here. But all right, cabin listeners, that is all we have for you today. Be sure to go follow Chris at Passion Pod, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We don't always think about this, but transportation delivers for Wisconsin. Roads, rails, air, all form a network that powers our state's economy, connects farmers to markets, factories to buyers, vacationers to their cabins. You get the picture. But when one part breaks down, everyone feels it. Higher costs, longer drives, fewer jobs, and less safety. Later today, head to transportationdelivers.com for updates on efforts to promote safe, reliable roads and bridges for today's Wisconsinites and generations to come. That's transportationdelivers.com.
Hey, cabin listeners, the holidays are coming up fast, and if you're looking to share your love for Wisconsin this season, we've got just the place. Head to shop.discoverwisconsin.com and browse our lineup of cozy long sleeves, crew necks, hoodies, and tees, plus holiday-inspired gifts, stocking stuffers, and locally made goods you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're shopping for the ultimate road tripper or someone who just can't get enough of Wisconsin, you'll find something for everyone on your list. And right now, you can take 15% off your order when you use code CABIN at checkout. Shop local this winter. Visit shop.discoverwisconsin.com and don't forget to use the code CABIN for 15% off your holiday order. All right, cabin listeners, we are back with a behind-the-scenes look at an upcoming Discover Wisconsin episode, which actually happens to be in Vilas County. We were just talking about St. Germain, Minocqua area, which is all up there, but Andrea did a really fun snowmobiling episode up there, so tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it was interesting because we actually had to kind of delay it a little bit because this last winter we did have snow, but the winter before, no snow.
I was going to say it got pushed off a couple years.
Yes, because they didn't even open the trails 2 winters ago. So it, you know, just with like how things are changing with the weather, like they just didn't have enough snow, which is kind of sad because you think of northern Wisconsin and that's, you know, all about snowmobiling and outdoor activities up in the Northwoods. But we did get to film, had a great time. We were all in Vilas County and focused on the snowmobile culture there. We got to go riding with a few different groups.
Yeah.
So there's the Bowens Club. And also when I was up there, it was just like a whole different world. Like all these snowmobile clubs know each other.
Well, have you ever been snowmobiling before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I grew up on our farm. We would go snowmobiling on like super old snowmobiles where you need to like pull it, you know, like really like yank it.
You got to work for it.
Now these snowmobiles, they have all the gadgets.
I know.
There's the helmets have warmers. You have hand warmers. Everything is
game changing.
Oh yeah. So we went snowmobiling with the Bowens Club, and then the women's group of the Bowens Club is called the Boobies.
Yes. I actually knew this because my aunt is a part of the Boobies.
I met her. She's part of the Boobies.
She's awesome.
And it's spelled Bobbbs.
Yeah.
But they're called the Boobies, so I can say that. And so I went riding with them as well. And like these women, I mean, they're older and like they are so fun and like love snowmobiling.
They're all about it. It's like their livelihood in the winter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, went snowmobiling with the Bo Bowens Club, the Boobies, met up with a couple just like key snowmobilers in the area. Mm-hmm. And then one of my favorite parts of the episode is we went to Saner, and that is the birthplace of the modern snowmobile. So Carl Elison, and we went to Elison Hardware where they have all of the old snowmobiles on display.
Yep.
He invented the modern snowmobile in Saner, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So when you're snowmobiling up in that area, you are on some of the oldest snowmobile trails in the world. And, the story, I've told it before, but the story of Carl Elison is really fascinating because he was born with a club foot. And so he was a lot like slower with walking. And back then, they'd be going out to the trails and check the traps and everything.
Yeah.
And he was always like, kind of slow to do that because of his foot. So he created this snowmobile, and it was just called a motor toboggan. Obviously, it was very different than modern snowmobiles, but all of his friends would make fun of him. They were like, what is he up to?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he gets this thing to work, and he's zooming by them. He went from everyone making fun of him, jokingly, to then everyone being like, wait, can you make me one?
Yeah, I kind of love that they keep the name sled with it, too, because, I mean, toboggan, sled, same difference basically. Did you go to the Saner pub when you were there?
Yeah. We went to the Saner pub, which is like a staple there.
Yeah, that's my grandpa's one of his favorite spots up there. And they do have really good food. Did you hit any other food places?
We did hit a couple. At this point, we filmed it a long time ago, so I'm not remembering the exact spots. But when you're snowmobiling up there are like definitely these spots that like all the snowmobilers go to. So it's like that's a good thing about up there is everything's laid out. So you go like snowmobiling for a while, and then it's like the go-to dive bar or like the go-to like burger spot. So it was a really cool, it was cool to experience that culture. We sat down with somebody who wrote like a book all about like snowmobiling culture in Vilas County. It was a good time. Have you been snowmobiling up there?
I have, but I haven't actually driven one. I normally just ride on the back when we're going out on the lake to go ice fishing or something like that. But I don't typically hit the trails when I'm up there. I'm hoping I can this winter. I hope there's a lot of snow. They say we're supposed to have a lot of snow. So maybe that'll be like my snowmobile virginity taken from me. I don't even know if I can say that, but we'll call it that.
I also can't forget that I went snowmobiling with the Boondock Nation boys.
Yes.
And so on one hand, I'm snowmobiling with the Boobies, who drove very slow, which I was happy about. And then I was snowmobiling with Boondock Nation.
Or backcountry snowmobilers.
They're backcountry snowmobilers. Yeah. And these guys do, out west, they'll do flips and all this stuff. So that tested my limits, not gonna lie, where I was like, I gotta be a little bit, I have to drive faster than it wasn't dangerous, but it was like you got kind of the mix of like what a fast snowmobiler does, and then going nice and slow with the Boobies.
I definitely think there's something for every single type of snowmobiler up there. So definitely go check out the Vilas County Snowmobile Trails. Hopefully they're open this winter. I hope we get lots of snow. But that episode comes out streaming November 12th, and then it will be on broadcast November 15th and 16th. So be sure to check that out. Today's episode of The Cabin was hosted by Andrea Belke and Megan Christian and produced by Andrea Belke. Audio engineering and video teasers by Nick Cardarella and Megan Christian, with social media by Megan Christian. Production support by Gavin McLean. The Cabin is a production brought to you by Discover MediaWorks. To learn more, head to discovermediaworks.com and don't forget to leave a review.